My name is Kala, Arvind Kala. Sometimes I think that the most precious thing in life is good, entertaining company, being with people who make you laugh and who laugh at what you say. It should be a conversation marked by fun and laughter. That I think is the essence of life. That is the real fun of life, the joy of life. Alas, this world is overrun by bores. People are very boring. But before that, let me talk of some things. There are four things in life. There are objects, whether it's a Lexus or a mansion, or there's a second thing: greenery, grass and trees and thorns and flowers, etc. Then there's two things: pets, tiger, dog, tiger, bow, 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 kitty, meow, meow, meow. And finally, the human beings. Human beings are the most interesting. Most people are boring, but they are full of oddities. I'll recount two odd incidents that I happen to remember. There was a woman I met once years ago, and she was around 32. She was very unhappy with her husband. Why? I asked her. She said that his father had died, and the father's corpse was wrapped up, etc., etc. And this guy was sitting next to the father's body eating a samosa. She asked him, she said, "Why are you eating a samosa?" He said, "I'm feeling hungry." A most sensible guy would go somewhere else and quietly eat a samosa. You're sitting right next to. Now that's a very interesting oddity. There's another Sikh wedding in Chandigarh. I remember at around 10 o'clock there was a wedding breakfast, and there was one woman around 42 who was lurking around, who wasn't eating. And anybody would ask her, "Why aren't you eating?" She'd say, "I brushed my teeth." So somebody else would ask her 5 minutes later, "Hey, how come you're not eating?" She said, "I'll brush my teeth." So the whole wedding was talking about how she was not. The simple thing was, you brushed your teeth once, brush them again. Damn it, what's the big deal? So these are oddities. Human beings are capable of much more. Unfortunately, this place, this world is overrun by bores. You'll notice one thing. I'm saying something slightly insightful. You will never find a child which is boring, who is boring. Because they themselves. If you have a say dalmot, they'll say, "Uncle, you got haldiram dalmot stuck in your beard." Now another adult wouldn't say that, but that child would say that. That's why kids are very good, because of the engaging candor. Alas, when we grow up, we put on all kind of artifices. We try to be what we are not, and everybody gives the same advice: be authentic, be authentic. A lot of people tell me, "You're very authentic, you say what you mean, and you mean what you say." Well, what else am I to say? Am I going to say something that somebody else means, and I put it in his words? The point is to simplify life. Yeah. A lot of There's a lot of this word goes around: authentic, authentic, authentic. Now there are certain tricks to this. The one way to be interesting is to be short. Speaking staccato, two, three sentences, four, five sentences, which should be conversation should be machine gun fast, not those, not a drone of a voice. A guy whose voice is a drone usually will tell an exciting story in such a boring fashion that you'll shut your ears off. A guy will say, "I was going to Ooty and our car on the way, right in front of us, a huge elephant. So we did not reverse. We thought the elephant would chase us. We couldn't proceed also. So the elephant raised its tongue. We said, 'Is he going to stamp on the car?'" So by that time, he's telling a very interesting story, but he's told it in such a boring way that the chap would say, "Yeah, I wish that elephant had trampled you." So that's what it is. You got to be quick. Another thing with boring people, a lot of boring people become very self-focused. You'll come across scores of people who don't want to know anything about your life. Actually, nobody is boring. I remember a colleague of mine, an outstanding landscape engineer from the Delhi School of Architecture, Mohammad Sharif, and he came to my place for a school party, and he was a very quiet, outstanding fellow. And he said, I'm a very forgettable fellow. He talked about himself, like that, in the self-deprecating terms. And I can bet you that guy would have been very interesting, because it's the boring people who think they're interesting because they dominate the conversation. And people are not, boring people are not interested in your life. Now, remember one thing: if you are not interested in other people's lives, other people are not interested in your life. It's as simple as that. It's reciprocal, and people who are self-focused end up just losing friends, and people drift away from them. You got to be interested in other people, yeah, for other people to be interested in you, and they will find you. If you ask them questions, people don't ask questions at all. And if you bring the topic to yourself, you barely started and they'll change the topic because they want to monopolize the conversation themselves. So that is how it is. Then there are those travel boards. Oh, when I went to Croatia, you should have seen the flowers popping out of the tree, so beautiful, and that there was ivy along then the other person will start. I went to South Africa, and then there was this the they're just relating things about themselves. Partly he's boasting. A lot of people are boastful also. It's better if other people boast about you in your presence rather than you boasting about yourself. As they say, as the cliche goes, self praise is no praise. But a lot of people do that. And a lot of people are very boastful, and all they say, it's so boring. I remember one fellow in a nearby park, nearby place in GK2. He was telling me he met me for the first time. He was 80, 85, and he told me how his son, who was working for Esso or one of these oil companies, how he was transferred from New York to Texas. Why the hell am I meeting you for the first time? Why are you telling me about your goddamn son's career? You can tell you. I can bet that guy. He would have emptied a room the minute he entered. He was at 85, and he told me one thing which was rather interesting. He said that when he was before independence, he was crowned the cutest by the British. He was crowned the cutest baby in Delhi. He must have been a very cute kid. He was sitting on a bench, 85-year-old guy. And I thought to myself, yeah, look at this guy's ego, or his nostalgia for a distant past. He's thinking like that. So the thing is, quick conversation, be interested in other people, talk clearly, talk short, talk short. Don't be long-winded. Don't have those things, and don't be an I specialist. I did that. I did that. My wife did that. My children did that. I remember when I was younger, around 40, 45, I would avoid the men because I would find women's conversation more playful. I found women much better company because men were boasting about their turnovers, which dramatized my failure in life. But now I go to I hang around with men because the women are talking about the goddamn grandchildren. Yeah, who the hell is interested in knowing about somebody's grandchildren? Yeah, I wish these women wouldn't do that. It's too boring, yeah. And then sometimes they would say when they're 60 or something, I went to this university, always talking about themselves. Yeah, this bloody. So friends, if you have good friends who make you laugh and who laugh with you, and you have fun and laughter conversations, keep them to their heart. A Lexus can be replaced, a tree can be replaced, but a friend cannot, a good company cannot be replaced, because you cannot get another guy like him, because they're damn precious. So well, friends, I think This was a Sunday. I thought I'd dwell on something idle. So I'll please forward it to everybody you know. I'll see you later, alligator.